The search for OceanGate's Titan submersible has come to a very unfortunate conclusion. The US Coast Guard said that the underwater craft, which was used for a voyage to the shipwreck of the Titanic, met with an implosion and was found in pieces very close to the Titanic shipwreck itself. All 5 passengers on board have lost their lives. More in our next report.
On behalf of the United States Coast Guard and the entire Unified Command, I offer my deepest condolences to the families.
The massive international search for 5 people aboard a missing submersible in the North Atlantic came to a grim end on Thursday after an unmanned deep-sea robot discovered debris confirmed to be from the lost vessel near the century-old wreck of the Titanic. Here's U.S. Coast Guard Rear Admiral John Mauger.
An ROV, or remote-operated vehicle, from the vessel Horizon Arctic discovered the tail cone of the Titan submersible approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic on the seafloor. The ROV subsequently found additional debris. In consultation with experts from within the Unified Command, the debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber.
Those who perished include British billionaire and explorer Hamish Harding, Pakistani-born business magnate Shahzada Dawood and his 19-year-old son Suleiman, French oceanographer Paul-Henri Nargeolet, and Stockton Rush, the American founder and chief executive of OceanGate Expeditions, the company behind the sub.
This was a incredibly complex case, and we're still working to develop the details for the timeline involved with this casualty.
The Titan had set off Sunday with 96 hours worth of oxygen, according to OceanGate, in what was expected to be a 2-hour dive to the Titanic. But upon its descent, the sub lost contact with its support ship. Rescue teams from several countries had spent days searching thousands of square miles of open seas with planes and ships for any sign of the 22-foot vessel. Hopes had been lifted when Canadian search planes using sonar buoys recorded undersea noises they described as banging sounds. But Mauger dismissed the idea that the noises came from the Titan.
There doesn't appear to be any connection between the noises and the location on the seafloor. Again, this was a catastrophic implosion of the vessel, which would have generated a significant broadband sound down there that the sonar buoys would have picked up.
Chris Brown, a friend of victim Hamish Harding, said he bowed out of the adventure due to safety concerns.
Parts of the submarine that I'd seen in the testing in the Bahamas just seemed a bit shoddy. They're using industrial piping for ballast. They're using an Xbox controller for the steering. They flatly refuse to get any form of certification.
Questions about the Titan's safety were raised in 2018 during a symposium of submersible industry experts and in a lawsuit filed by OceanGate's former head of marine operations, which was settled later that year. OceanGate Expeditions said in a statement, "Our hearts are with these 5 souls and every member of their families during this tragic time."
The US Coast Guard says a missing submersible imploded near the wreckage of the Titanic, killing all 5 people on board. Now, the Titan lost contact with surface support ship on Sunday morning, about an hour and 45 minutes into what should have been just a 2-hour dive to the world's most famous shipwreck. To give you a better picture of this entire scenario, here's a look at what a catastrophic implosion is and the risks involved in such an expedition. Now, catastrophic implosions, such as that believed to have destroyed the Titan, would have happened with incredible force and speed, given the crushing water pressure on the floor of the ocean. At sea level, the atmospheric pressure is 14.7 pounds per square inch, that's PSI. Water pressure at the depth where the Titanic lies is equivalent to nearly 6,000 PSI, that's pounds per square inch. That's the kind of pressure there is. As a comparison, the bite of a large great white shark exerts a force of nearly 4,000 psi. Now, according to Scientific American, that's the figure that has come out. In an implosion caused by a defect in the hull or for some other reason, the submersible would collapse in on itself within milliseconds, crushed by the immense water pressure, and it will not take too long. In such an event, death would be virtually instantaneous for the occupants of the pressurized chamber. Now, to give you a sense of just how frightening this would have been, when we speak about the deep ocean, it is dark. Mind you, it is not just dark, it is pitch dark. Sunlight does not reach that deep. Sunlight is very quickly absorbed by water and is unable to penetrate much deeper than about 1,000 meters from the surface. The Titanic lies within a region known as the midnight zone. Navigating at this depth is a challenging task due to perpetual darkness, and it's easy to become disoriented and on the seabed. You can imagine not being able to see anything around you. The deep ocean is scoured by underwater currents. Although usually not as strong as those found on the surface, the underwater currents can still involve the movement of large amounts of water. Now, in rare events, powerful sporadic currents can sweep away material on the seabed as well. Sudden flows of sediment along the seabed have been known to damage and even carry off objects on the ocean floor in the past. Now, for more on this, we were earlier joined by Professor James Bellingham from Washington, D.C., a renowned marine biologist who spoke extensively on the decompressive implosion that sealed the submarine's fate. Listen in.
What happens when you descend into the ocean inside a pressure vessel is the water that you descend through is building up pressure around you as you get deeper and deeper. So for approximately every 10 meters you descend into the ocean, you develop another level of pressure equivalent to the what we would call 1 atmosphere, the pressure of atmosphere at sea level. So by the time you reach a depth of 3,800 meters, you are surrounded by this pressure of 380 atmospheres, which is approximately 5,400 pounds per square inch. So that's a very large amount of pressure pushing in on that pressure vessel at any given point. And so pressure vessels are designed to be very spherical and cylindrical in order to distribute all of those stresses evenly through the material of the pressure vessel. And that's how they succeed in retaining their integrity down to great depths.
The grim news of Titan's submersible tearing into pieces due to an implosion has triggered a barrage of reactions from around the world. Not only the victim's family are mourning, but filmmaker James Cameron has also expressed grief over the incident. Cameron on Thursday said he wishes that he had sounded an alarm over the submersible before it set off for a voyage to the Titanic's wreck. The filmmaker, who is also a keen ocean explorer himself, claimed that he had found that craft's design was risky, but he chose to remain silent as he had never experimented really with it, the technology involved in making the submersible.
So OceanGate shouldn't have been doing what it was doing. I think that's pretty clear. I wish I had been more vocal about that, but I think I was unaware that they weren't certified because I wasn't really studying it. I wish I'd spoken up, but I assumed somebody was smarter than me, because I'd never experimented with that technology.
The director of the Oscar-winning film, The Titanic, also claimed that several warnings were ignored about the safety of the submersible. Cameron said that this had been the source of widespread concern in the close-knit ocean exploration community.
There was a lot of concern about this outfit and this sub. A lot of concern, even to the extent that I wasn't involved in it because I was making Avatar 2 at the time, but a lot of them got together and wrote a letter to OceanGate and said, you have to certify. You cannot take people down. It's irresponsible, and it could lead to catastrophe. Literally, the word catastrophe is in the letter. And I think that letter has been made public. All those signatories have come off.
Meanwhile, families of the victims issued statements on the incident. Some of these thanked the international rescue operators for doing all that they could. The 5 on board the missing submersible, which of course imploded, included the British billionaire and explorer Hamish Harding, Pakistani-British business magnate Shehzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old son Suleiman, French oceanographer and Titanic expert Paul Henry Nargolet, and Stockton Rush, the American founder and chief executive of OceanGate, who was piloting the submersible. Now, UK and Pakistan also expressed grief over the incident. Taking to Twitter, British Foreign Minister James Cleverly offered condolences and said that the government was supporting the families of the victims. Pakistan's foreign ministry expressed anguish through a tweet for the family of the Pakistan origin father-son duo and appreciated the multinational rescue operation. Strong reactions were also witnessed in New York's Times Square.
It's a tragedy, as any tragedy, but I think it was highlighted because basically there was a certain group of people that chose to go on that trip, and probably it gets a little bit more of media attention than the usual disasters that happen out there in the sea. That's what I think.
I think it's very sad with the technology that we have today. They should have found those people. They should have brought them up, you know. They should have sent another one down there because they have, you know, the equipment, you know, the United States, the Navy, all that. They should have sent another one down there to come get them.
The company OceanGate Expeditions has been carrying out such voyages to the shipwreck of the Titanic since 2021. It charges $250,000 for the trip. But this incident has raised questions on how safe it is to dive deep into such oceanic depths.